Hello, everyone. Hello, put in the group me someone that we're all going to be on. What's it called today? Hello, do people hear me? Are people alive? Hello, let me see faces. Thank you, Miss Burke. Thank you, Miss Ashton. Thank you. I'm sorry, I had to switch over to Zoom because my kid, I don't know, has WebEx been really bad for you on other calls? No, it's just me? Oh, thanks. Thanks, okay. I guess I got the cheap old computer. Have people used Zoom before? Just say yes or no. Okay, everyone uses Zoom. Okay, good.
No.
Now, look, now. Oops, someone said they can't hear something. Can someone tell them how to change it? They might have to get off and come back on. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to go over the articles, and what we're going to do is just give you guys a few minutes to figure out, who's on what team and all that other stuff. Oh, Cole, it's so good to see you, Cole. I haven't seen you in so long.
What's going on?
Haven't seen you in so long, Cole.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Don't think I don't know when you're not here. I know
Hmm.
Okay, so what I want you guys to do is you guys can talk. I'll be back in 4 minutes. Figure out who's going to be the speaker for your group for each of the articles, and we'll go over the articles, and then we'll go over what we're going to be doing over the next 2 weeks, okay? So I'll give you guys a second. Find out who's going to be the lead speaker for each of your groups.
You hear this nigga just put me on blast like that?
It's tough. So who's talking for each group?
Someone put the link in the group me. They got to be here. You're missing 6 people. Five people now. Okay, if everyone could put what group you were and what article and who's going to be the lead speaker in the chat. If not, I'm just going to tell group 1 to go, and you guys are going to have to just do it yourselves, figure it out, and speak for each speak yourself. Okay, so Joey, this is what you're going to do. You're going to open up what the article was about, state your case, what you thought, some of the basic things you thought about the article, and then you're going to pass it on to another group member.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, Joey, whoever was group 1, I gave you the hardest article out of everybody. I hope you guys know that.
It was hard.
It was hard. It was difficult. It's a lot of concepts, but I knew you guys will be able to handle it. I think you had 4 times as much work as everyone else did. I hope you guys know that.
What do you mean by passing it along?
Did you say what?
What do you mean by passing it along?
Oh, Joey will just say, all right, anybody else from my group who wants to speak?
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay, so we had representations of Black female sexuality in the cultural marketplace by Bell Hooks. And it was essentially talking about how, like, since pretty much like America like has been founded and stuff, it talks a lot about like racism and how Black women have been like subjugated to being like they've been presented as like, or seen as like sexual objects by like society and stuff. And it talked about how a lot of Black women performers had to kind of like were forced to conform to like that idea to get or to like have a successful career and stuff like that. But a lot of it I kind of had a trouble like we're relating that back to like college and stuff. But at the start of like the essay, they talk about how, or the author talks about how when she was in college, she was out with a bunch of friends and she was getting called like racial slurs, and kind of related that was like in college, like stuff like that can happen to people, and if you see that happening to someone you know, you need to like either stand up for them or be there to like support them in like being able to like stand up for them and give them like the courage to, or help them, or just kind of be supportive of your friends if they need help in a situation like that.
Excellent. Anybody else want to go? Joe, whoever wants to go on Joe's group, go for it.
I can speak about it. So something that was really interesting to me, again, like going back to the beginning of the article, when like the group of people went to the dessert shop and there was like body parts of dessert, and how it's just like, to some people it may seem like a funny, like, oh, it's just a joke, like, oh, it's just like funny, blah blah, but like people need to realize that that can be still hurtful for other people, and still like understand the fact that people went through things that other people didn't, and they have to just be like more respectful of that. And then another part about, there was a section of it talking about like this lady was experiencing being with someone for the first time, and the letter that she wrote at the beginning of it, it seemed she was not comfortable at all. Like, she didn't seem comfortable at all. She didn't seem like she wanted to, but at the end of it, it was something across the lines like, oh, he loves me and I love him, so it was fine. But it's just like, you can't feel like you need to be with someone just out of love. Like, you have to feel like you're ready. So it's just like, I think that is, could you relate towards college, experiencing stuff like that and making sure that you're fully comfortable in respecting the people who you're with and the people you're surrounding yourself with, and making sure that like everyone is in a comfortable environment. If they're not, then you shouldn't push anyone to do anything.
Well put. And it's also, as young ladies know, and being going to school downtown Atlanta, about just being catcalled. You know, hey baby girl, come here. Hey baby girl, forget you. You know what I mean? That is something that I think, as me being in the male body, is not used to, and have to be very sensitive when I see that going on. Because for me at night, the only person I gotta be worried about is the police. I mean, you know what I mean? I feel comfortable walking late at night and all those other things, but these are just me and the privilege of me being this black male body. But I also know at nighttime, my biggest enemy is a police officer, and that's what's going on. But that's very true about understanding what your body represents and how it interacts with other people. Very good 2 points. Other people on that group? Who wrote about Tina Turner? She talked about Tina Turner. Someone wrote it in their response.
I mentioned it in mine, but only briefly, really.
Who's that? I can't see.
It's Joey.
All right, Joey, yeah. But this is the whole thing I want you guys to start doing in some of your work, and I think what we were doing with the other 2 articles is that it's called rabbit hole, and I love rabbit holes, is that when authors start naming other people, you can kind of go down and find out about that other person or what that actually saying. Bell Hooks talked about several movies in there. And know what I did? I watched some of those movies while I was watching the article, and it gave me a better understanding. And to be real talk about when we first heard about Scott Page, I heard about Scott Page from listening from that Lanny Guinier article. And from me actually hearing about it and finding out and researching about him, that's what I call rabbit hole. And that's the whole process of education. And so when I say look at these articles, reference another article, you should also look at those as ways to put that into your own thing. Oh, I also read the article of Scott Page where he says X. He agrees with this, or I don't agree with that. So these are some ways for you to get better marks on your papers, to go down those rabbit holes and to enjoy that whole process and so forth. All right? Okay. Who else was a part of your team? That's it?
I was.
All right. Do you want to have anything to share?
No, not really. I didn't really have any.
You got to show you. I got to know. You know, when people talk, I don't know who you are without a face.
It's Tommy Joseph.
Go ahead.
I didn't really understand how the female sex had to do with college or career experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know how to relate that to what I might experience. So
Yep.
I just basically summarized her article.
Yep. I know this was I meant to give you one very difficult article because she went around on many different topics, and that's just her writing style. But it connects later. So even though you might not understand this article now, I think maybe in a year or two, you're going to see some of those things seep in as Faith and Joey talked about some of those things as well. So I really want to give Group 1 a lot of big ups because I gave you like a graduate student article right there. And I just want to see how you guys could react to it. Did you guys notice it? It was a little kind of like a little bit extra. Faith, did you notice that, Joey?
Yeah, it was pretty long.
It was very long. That's graduate school stuff. You guys just did graduate school work. I'm very proud of you guys. All right. Okay, group number 2.
I'm speaking for us, but our article was about microaggressions on campus, and it was a little bit shorter than the first one, but basically it was talking about how common microaggressions are, and people don't really realize that, and how I don't remember the college name, but they're including like sessions on how to combat microaggressions and how to like retrain yourself to like get that out of like the way you think. I'm not phrasing it correctly, but basically
making it so that you stop saying microaggressions as much. And I thought it was really interesting because there are certain things that, like, I know me personally, I had caught myself like earlier on this year saying stuff like that, and I was like, okay, cool, like I'm gonna change that because that's not okay. And like then I like read the article and I realized, like, you know, I have family members who say stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, like I never corrected them before, but now I know that I can do that. And I did also speak a little bit on my experiences with it because my boyfriend's Indian, and we'll be walking around Atlanta at points, and some people will be like, oh, just like randomly on the street, be like, oh, you know, he's gonna be in an arranged marriage anyway. They'll say stuff like that. And it's just kind of like, it's just like rude. Like I never experienced them until then, and it was really whack.
Excellent. Nope, that's exactly. Just acknowledging our own biases from the neighborhoods and families that we come from, and being able to tackle that on a college campus. And it was a college in Massachusetts. I think that was really working it. Please jump right in. Who else was on that? Who else was on that article? And the whole thing about it is, do you agree with the article, and also do you not agree with the article? Remember, you're in academia. You don't have to agree with everybody, but you just gotta back it up. That's what I'm teaching y'all to do, to back it up. Who else was on your team?
Oh, I was.
Go ahead.
So one thing that I found interesting was like the author of that article listed the 3 different examples of microaggressions, which were like verbal, nonverbal, and environmental. And before reading this article, I didn't really know much about environmental microaggressions. She listed this interesting example that was like when you walk into your chemistry building and the posters on the wall are all like white males. And so that was something that I've never really paid attention to until I read that. So I found that really interesting.
Very good point. Very good point. It's interesting. I brought it up to my healthcare provider. They had all these flyers, and it had Black and Latino students and people as the patients, and they had the white people as all the doctors and so forth in Massachusetts. So I brought it up to their attention. They were like, wow, we never really saw that. You know what I mean? So it's just very interesting, those kind of slight things that you see, and how that affects the way that you view yourself, but and just how you interact in society. You have 2 more people in your group. Please jump right in.
Okay, so in pertaining to the microaggression article,
You got to say who you are, because we don't know who you are.
I'm Amber.
There you go, because we don't see you. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm folding clothes.
Okay.
In pertaining to the microaggression article, I really liked it because I felt like it wasn't just directed towards just a certain race. It just went like, it was for like everybody. And I liked the article itself because it was very informing on like what they are, because I feel like, you know, in order to know if you have did that, you know, you have to know about it first. So yeah, I really liked the article, and I agreed with it mostly. So yeah.
And I think you have one more person in your group. You know I read all your comments, even though you guys don't think I do, but go ahead. Anybody else? No. I'm going to tell you, in my life, I've had some really great professors. One was, I didn't have her class, but I was able to sit on many Languaneer's classes when I was at Harvard. But also Chester Pierce, he just passed away. He was my professor when I was at Harvard as well. I didn't realize this at the time until I came to graduate school, but he was the guy that came up with the term microaggressions. It was my professor. I couldn't believe it. And let me tell you, man, he would kick my butt in class on all my papers, all my graduate school papers. I know, he just read. Go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. And I didn't understand it now, but I understand it why now, because, you know, if you look at his background, is that he was like one of the first Black players at Harvard University, and black football players. And when he went down to, I guess, Virginia, they were not trying to let him play in that game, and they would call him different names, and how the University of Virginia would treat him badly and so forth. So think about you growing up in the 50s and 60s and getting those kind of things. And then what he's decided to do with his own career was become a psychiatrist. And he now has a wing of the Mass General Hospital named after him for his groundbreaking work. But it's interesting, I didn't know at the time, is that I had Chester Pierce, the founding word person of microaggressions, as my professor. So even though you might roll your eyes at me half the time, you're going to see me one day and say, George Greenidge was my professor. So it's just really good just to put that in context. So I put that article in there. And so this is the whole thing I talk about, rabbit hole. You know what I mean? Microaggressions, rabbit hole. Where did that term came from? So you being able to say, when that does come up, oh, it came from the Professor Chester Pierce. This gives your professor to say, wow, this person added a little bit extra than just giving me what, you know, they're supposed to do. So I'm just kind of get you guys onto that page. Okay, next group.
Hi, I'm Julia and I'm speaking for the next group. And our article was about like the underlying issues of standardized testing. And like it shows the introduction of like meritocracy, which is like how the elite got their position through like test scores. And this created a problem in the system because like people who couldn't succeed in the educational path would sort of create the new form of discrimination. So nowadays, like when freshmen enter college, the college is mainly focused on standardized testing, which is an issue because like test scores really do not affect your outcome in college, but it like sort of measures like your wealth and everything. So Lana wants to create a system so that like it's more accessible to everyone, and this change will allow like our education to give everyone sort of a fair chance, because standardized testing is a step back and it's not really a good measure of your intelligence. And this sort of is important to my college career because it shows that my intelligence isn't measured by a test score. It's measured by like my work through the course, my effort, and my knowledge of the subject. And if colleges would pay more attention to other factors of a future student, like their service, the GPA involvement, instead of leaning towards who has the highest SAT or ACT score, they can find great candidates who can contribute great things to the school.
Very well put, Ms. Torres. And as we know, as we talked about, fair testing was a place in Boston that looked at these test scores and looked at first year grades. And they correlated that SAT scores correlated more with income than with how people did with their first year grades. It just told you what kind of car your parents drove. So it's really interesting how this data about how we're all running around talking about, oh, it's all about merit and having merit, but you're seeing that here we just watched the Varsity Blues that just happened, where there was two actresses that got their, you know, here are these two families with lots of income and riches, and they just, you know, pretty much had mediocre studying skill students, and here they are, they use their influence of changing test scores and finding ways and loopholes through the admissions process to get them access, whereas here are people of color, minority people, and lower income people following the rules that we've been taught that it's about you doing great on SATs and all these other stuff, where all these things around legacy. If your parent went to that school, you're actually automatically admitted to the university. If your parent actually gave a huge donation to the school, you might be automatically admitted, and so forth. And so Lenny Guarnier is pushing the whole discussion about SAT scores and do they actually mean anything? You know what I mean? And I think Julia hit it. It's about, you know, looking at the whole person, about looking at what can they actually contribute to society as they come in the door. And then, and if you build on that argument and you keep on going, this goes into the whole discussion about what Scott Page was talking about instead of taking the two smartest people in the room, what happens is that they get stuck at the same place. Why don't you have a diversity of thinkers in your classroom so you can have better thinkers in how they approach projects? Do you see how all this stuff is all connecting? The madness of the classwork that I'm doing? It connects later. but this is what it is. It's about to give you guys really a whole thinking about how you guys are working for your own education, but also how you guys can be proponents for your own educational development going forward. All right, Julia, who else was in your group?
I'm sort of on my article, so I can't really see it. I have it on like a Google Doc.
Anybody else, please jump in. Hello, group 3. They must be folding clothes. All right, we'll just go to group 4. Julie, you got your participation points for the day. Group 4.
Okay, I'm going to be speaking first on behalf of the group. So our article was called The Model Minority, and it was about how Asian people are kind of discriminated against through positive stereotypes. And they're seen as smart, upstanding citizens of society, but their accomplishments can be not worth as much in the eyes of other people. So like, say if a white person got into Harvard, like they're like, oh my gosh, they got into Harvard, right? But if a Asian person got in, they're kind of expected to do that. And so not as many get in when they do apply. And this article is very important to college and career because it shows that as a reminder to not judge people based on their stereotypes. And even if it's a positive stereotype, it's still a racist remark, so.
Please, other people on that group.
So based off that article, I don't believe that there's such thing as a positive stereotype, because the way it works is a stereotype is still hurting someone, whether it's a bad connotation like an African American walking at night or something like that, versus an Asian who's expected to do like well in the math and sciences and get into higher schools. I don't think there's such thing as a good stereotype, because the type of pressure that puts on Asian children, they're expected to perform a certain way, and when they don't, it's like this big thing in their social lives, and it dictates how they interact with people in the day-to-day. I think that's really important with college and career, because we can't expect someone to perform a certain way based off the color of their skin or where they're from or what's expected of them. So that's what I think based off of the article.
Go ahead, Kamala Harris. I mean, Ms. Burke, you just laid that. Good job. Anybody else want to jump in?
So I'm also in group 4, and I wanted to also talk about how just sort of reinforced the stereotype is just in everyday life, whether that be in media or not. Like my favorite example is like in Phineas and Ferb. Like it's a great show and it's like a very present and modern day show, but like the character Baljeet, like he has those positive stereotypes, but even in modern media, we see that. And a lot of times like Indian people will be the butt of the joke of, you know, calling someone Baljeet or whatever random Indian character that is in Western, specifically American media. And a lot of times I'm Indian, so when people talk about Asians, typically they think of East Asians, and in this article, they did only speak of East Asians and Southeast Asians. So what I also wanted to point out is how even though the stereotype sort of incorporates all Asians, each like subculture within the Asian continent faces their own type of discrimination.
Excellent. And this is where I really enjoy this, Nina, is that you're saying I do agree with this. However, the article is only looking at a subset of the Asian population. This is where you get your points as being a scholar to say, you know what, you need to open this up as well. So I thank you for that. That's how you this is how you zing. This is where professors get happy, where you're able to use your own critical analysis. Fantastic. Jump in. Anybody else on this topic, please?
So I'm also part of this group, and as like Sarah and Leah and how Nina said, all the all the components are in the part of the article. But as for me, as an Asian American, I believe that the stereotypes are true, and I do since I'm an part of the East Asian, I do have those stereotypes are true because like a lot of Asian parents are actually like putting pressure on their children, and it's very hard. And a lot of I grew up with that culture, and like when I grew up young in America, like people would just assume that, oh, he's probably the smartest kid in the school because I'm just Asian. And I believe that everyone is like different, and how Nina said, like East Asians are not the only Asians in like not the only Asians. There's like South Asians and different Asians, and people are just putting stereotypes towards the East Asians because people are only focusing on the education and their career, and I believe that that is wrong. And a lot of immigrants, like the Asian people, are like for first generation. A lot of people sacrifice for second generation, and I don't think people will realize that, but because the first generation of like our parents have sacrificed for us, the second generation like me or other people are putting more focus on our education because we want to we don't want that sacrifice for our parents to like just go away. And that's what I have thought about the article.
Good points, good points. I met a young lady who is a master's student who's my new mentee, and she's an Asian sister. And she says, she's 24, she says, I never can go out the house. She said, the only way she goes to school and comes home. And that, you know, it's just a lot of pressure that her brother's already married and she's not. And so, you know, these are just many different things that, you know, that we just got to be aware of culturally and so forth. This article was written by another professor of mine, Adia Wingfield Harvey. She was at Georgia State, but now she's at, I guess she's in, I put her information in the link. I think she's in Louisiana, or can someone click on that, the first one? Oh, she's at Washington University in St. Louis, all right? But also, one of my other professors is a professor here at Georgia State. Her name is Rosalind Child. Right there, if you point right there and look at that. Her work is very interesting, is that in her class, I learned so much. She wrote a book, co-authored The Myth of the Model Minority, Asian Americans Facing Racism with Joe Fagan. And she's also has a whole piece about Asian American sexual politics, the construction of race, gender, and sexuality. Talking about the roles of Asian people on television and also on campuses and so forth, and how they're portrayed and so forth. So these are, as you go down, I call it a rabbit hole, are places where you can actually share information and think about things. And for all those who want to connect with Professor Rosalind, please do so. Her information's in the chat. Okay, we have another article. Is it the last one? Is that it? You were group 5, or that was group 5?
That was the last one.
Say it again?
That was the last one.
Okay, good. All right. So before we go into the other 2 articles, what do you think about this? Is the field of social science and human development and people and sociology. What do you guys feel about these articles? Does it tell you about the human experience? How would you lump all these articles together? Isaiah, go for it. Isaiah, Cole, and Andrew, and Sung, go for it. I'm putting y'all on the spot. Socrates method.
What was your question again?
The question was, how would you—
What was your question?
The question about all these articles together, how do they represent the human experience, sociology, and all these things as you approach your own college experience and work experience going forward in the world?
They all tell different messages about life and different backgrounds of life, and how We should not judge people. That was from one article, what I took from one article. My group's article, I took from that. I forgot what it was about, actually. 1 second. Oh, it was about personalities in colleges, admissions. So I would just say in general, all these articles had to do with people, like problems or different problems that we face with the East Asians, South Asians, the prejudices. Like they all just show the more that you know will show the different backgrounds that other people have gone through. That's all I gotta say.
Sounds good. Cole, keep on going with it. And Andrew and Sung, jump in.
To like piggyback off him, I do agree that all these articles were just discussing like all the different experiences that we all may face while either getting into college or while being in college. Because like you saying, living on campus in Atlanta and, you know, going out at night, from that one article talking about how, you know, females may get catcalled, and that really does happen a lot. And like you said, like that, for a female, they do have to worry way more than as a male, especially African-American male, rather than us just worrying about the police. But not only that, discussing even before getting into college, talking about the essay, the test, and how that reflects with your family's wealth, and also like Article 5, talking about personality traits before getting into college, and how that may not be looked at, and it only may be looked at by select colleges. And I feel like it should be looked at by more colleges, because personally, if I was a college admissions person, I would want to not only look for a kid that's has good test scores, but also a good personality, you know, like how they're talking about how they'll have leadership skills and creative thinking, because I would want someone on my task force that will have very creative and all these different skills rather than just being smart, I feel like.
And why is that, Cole?
Why would I have them? Why would I rather have a person with more personality traits?
I'm just asking you a philosophical question.
Oh, because I feel like we can get more done. If I was a dean, let's say that if I was a dean and I had straight college students with great personality traits, I feel like we will be a way higher ranked school. I feel like more people would want to come to our school if we focus on personality traits rather than just smartness, because yeah, you may be smart, but can you learn how to lead a movement, you know? Are you motivated to do something outside of school? You know, life is not just about books, and I feel like that's.
But Cole, I'm gonna push you on that. Isn't it important that we need all kinds?
All
Like
kinds
I'm just saying, like somebody might need to write the research paper. Somebody might need to be able to make the phone calls for the organization. Someone might be the person out there to do the speech. Someone might be the person that puts the sandwiches out and gives people water. Don't we need all kinds in that kind of supportive of movement and so forth?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you too, because I do think about that personally. Even outside of college, I think about how I feel like as a society we all, you know, we can't all just have doctors. You know, we all can't just have all of one kind. We need people, handymans. You know, we all can't be going for one thing. So I do agree with you, but I feel like, say it's Cole 1 and Cole 2, and we both have a SAT score of 1,600, but I have a great personality trait, and I have I'm not shy, I'm a leader, I'm creative, I'm kind, and then there's Cole 2, same score as me, but he's not as creative, he's really low key, you know. And if I was a college admissions, I would rather want a person like me that not only we both smart, but I can put forth more to the table rather than just give you good grades, you know?
How about this? Cole 1 went to a inner city high school, and Cole 2 went to a very prestigious high school, private school, and you both have the same grades and all that other stuff. Which one would they choose? That's a good question, right?
Yeah, in reality, they're going to choose the kid with the more prestigious school background, which is honestly unfair to me. But since they probably have better learning, better teaching, they're probably going to give them.
But they have the same grades and same SAT scores.
I would still feel like they would pick the more prestigious school, because since I came from a not as good high school, I feel like we weren't exploited enough in a good way, in a positive way, rather than.
I'm just pushing the discussion just to let you know that you don't know. You might have been able to take more tutoring classes, have more resources to after school programs. You can think on yourself. You can think on your own. You're very averse. You might have stronger diversity than the other person. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You might be the only person in the house that's gone to college or something like that.
Yeah.
So these are some things that are other things and pieces. I'm just pushing you on that. It's a very good point. Did someone else have something to say?
No, I was actually, this is Sabrina speaking. I was actually just going to piggyback off of what you were saying, because for someone coming from, let's say, a city school and then someone from a private school, that high SAT score for the person from a private school is, I want to say, hold less value to the person that got the high SAT score from someone that's coming from a public school, because again, you have different resources and you're able to do more things going to a private school than, like, you're putting a lot of disadvantages going to a public school. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like colleges to see like the value of the score from like each student standpoint, if that makes sense.
But some colleges would love to say, I'm just playing devil's advocate, love to say, hey, we got 12 students from the Wharton private school. You know what I mean? Look how prestigious that is compared to Grady High School. You know what I mean? So these are the things that these college admissions people actually think and go through. But I'm just having that discussion. Okay? You guys did a really good job today. We do have another half an hour, so we're going to get these two other pieces in and close out. The next piece is about our good friend, Kyle Kashouf. All right? Whatever his name is. Hold on one second. All right? And I'm just going to share a piece of that. Give me a second.
Some others were trying to be as extreme and shocking as possible when he used the N-word repeatedly, including about black student athletes. The offensive comments were made in a Google document that served as a chat space and was shared among several friends. But somebody retrieved the document and posted screenshots of it in a video on Twitter. Kashouf says at the time he was thoughtless and immature, and that he made the remarks months before the Parkland shooting that killed 17 of his classmates. But it appears some former students at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School wanted nothing to do with his apology and took the matter directly to Harvard, asking the college to rescind Kashouf's admission. Kashouf then apologized to Harvard for the, quote, hurtful things he wrote, saying he's no longer the same person, especially in the wake of the shooting, and asked how he could right this wrong. It didn't help. In a letter that Kyle Kashouf shared publicly, Harvard wrote in part, quoting, as you know, the committee takes seriously the qualities of maturity and moral character. After careful consideration, the committee voted to rescind your admission to Harvard College. Kashouf now believes that he was targeted more for his politics than his offensive comments. Remember, in the wake of the Parkland shooting, he became a prominent media figure who supported gun rights and became the high school outreach director for a conservative group with ties to the Trump family. Today, he tweeted, quoting, after I issued this apology, speculative articles were written, my peers used the opportunity to attack me, and my life was once again reduced to a headline. It sent me into one of the darkest spirals of my life. In 2017, Harvard also rescinded admission for at least 10 students who shared sexually explicit and racist messages on Facebook. 2 other students who graduated this year from Marjory Stoneman Douglas High will be attending Harvard in the fall. Kyle Kashouf is unclear where he will attend.
All right.
Let's find out now. Trace, appreciate it. Joining me now in the story exclusive to the man himself, Kyle Koshuv. Kyle, good evening.
How's it going, Ed?
It's going well, but I want to talk to you. I want to get to Harvard in a moment, but I want to start with you. What were you thinking?
Well, at that time, it was really a friend group where who could say the most shocking thing and most extreme thing for the sake of shock value. And I'm extremely sorry for it. And I wish I could have taken it back, but I can't. All I can do right now is seek to right this wrong. And I know that forgiveness isn't given, it's earned. And I know that, the person who wrote those things is not who I am today.
How do we know that? Because you certainly sound heartfelt, but you want to get something. You want to get into Harvard or get into another school. And how do we know that you're not just saying, oh, I didn't mean it?
It's a fair question. Because in every single possibility that I could have, ever since I became a public figure, I've condemned racism, I've condemned hatred. And that's why we've seen the alt-right come after me so hard, because I've condemned them for their racism and for their hatred.
Well, okay, so where does it come from when you say, you in this chat room, you wanted to say the most outrageous thing? You could have said something about sex, you could have said something about drugs, you could have said something about any number of things. But in one case, as was mentioned, you typed the N-word 11 times in a row and said, and we have it on the screen, you said you were good at typing it.
Came at with
because,
receipts,
quote, unquote,
with receipts.
Practice, you see it at the bottom, practice makes perfect. So you didn't use the N-word once. In one text, you used it 11 times. Where does that come from?
Look, what I said is indefensible and wrong, and I apologize for repeatedly. But what's also in that same message is I use anti-Semitic jokes. And I basically pray every week. I'm Jewish. My parents are Jewish. They immigrated from Israel. Half my family was wiped out in the Holocaust. So clearly, that's not indicative of who I am. I'm Jewish,
right.
And I'm not anti-Semitic at all.
So on that point, you're Jewish. I can't question your faith or anyone's faith. But why in the world would you say, kill all the Jews was one of the things you said? You're Jewish. You just told me many members of your family were killed in the Holocaust, and I'm certainly sorry about that. How could you possibly say kill all the Jews?
Because it was in a time where the person who could say the most shocking thing, and that was the aura of the group.
Okay, so you wrote this apology to Harvard, and among other things, as Trace said, they said, we appreciate the expression of regret, and we appreciate your candor, but we're still not letting you in. And I find it interesting, among other things, that you also wrote to the Harvard Diversity Office.
Yeah.
And around this time, they apparently didn't know that Harvard was saying, we appreciate your candor, but we're rescinding your admission. The Harvard Diversity Office sends you a separate letter that says, basically, we accept your apology. This sounds heartfelt. So if the Diversity Office accepted your apology, essentially, why in the world did the admissions office rescind it?
I can't tell you. Some people are saying political bias. But I think one of the biggest things to look at is the state of academia right now. Is Harvard, for people who don't know, Harvard was founded in 1636 by slave owners. It has a long history of racism, sexism, misogyny. But I think that people can grow and people can change.
Right.
And I don't hold that standard to Harvard. And I think that people can make mistakes. And I don't think that mistakes make you irredeemable, as Harvard showed for me, as Harvard established for me.
Can I give you a time out there? So you're mentioning that they had slave owners in the 1600s. You using the N-word was what? A year and a half ago? Do you see
2 years ago.
2 years ago. A little more recent.
Okay.
I go back to my first question. How do we know you've really changed? What specifically, you went through an awful tragedy in Florida and have been held by some, and you should be, for your poise going through a tragedy that I can't even imagine.
Okay, everybody. Let's unpack this. What do you guys think about Kyle and his apology, or just this whole thing? Do you think someone is responsible for their things they post on social media, and does that affect their job or their college chances? What do you guys think?
I think he's 100% responsible for his own thing. He said it and he owned up to it. And if he can't accept his punishment, sucks for him. He put himself in that position.
Right.
And also, I find it really ridiculous how he wants to say, like, almost blaming it on his group of friends. If you are the people you hang around, okay? So if y'all are doing stuff like that, that's not the first time. Y'all are constantly saying the N-word. You know, you use it in practice. Like, and then one of the articles that you linked was talking about how forgiveness is white privilege, and that's what it is. Cause you know, had a black man said something along the lines of like what he said, like about kill all the Jews or whatever. Had a black man said that, because didn't that happen to Nick Cannon already? Said something about Jewish people, and he's canceled. He got his whole TV show taken. So
who's speaking right now? Who's speaking?
Maya.
Okay.
Maya. Right. So for him to say, I'm sorry, I've changed my ways, it doesn't matter. You can say sorry or you want to, but it's just not gonna work this time.
All right, Maya.
I also want to put it out there that it's not, even though, like, no offense to white people, but
who's speaking?
Me, Ashton. I just want to put it out there that it's not their apology to accept, especially since he said the N-word. Just because a white person accepts that apology, it's not theirs to accept. Even I don't accept it, because like it doesn't feel like it's a genuine apology. It just feels like he's blaming his decisions on who he hung around and what he was trying to do in that time. He's not actually taking responsibility. Not only that, but those anti-Semitic remarks, that's not my fight to fight either, because I'm not Jewish. That would be something that the Jewish community would have to accept or not, or choose not to accept themselves. But it's just the fact that he's Jewish and he actually made those jokes, that doesn't make it right either. Even though he's Jewish, oh, I'm Jewish, I can make those jokes. You can't, because that's highly disrespectful. You can't go anywhere in Germany without them having a tribute, some kind of tribute or memorial to the Holocaust. And the fact that you actually made anti-Semitic remarks like that is just irresponsible. And I think that the college had every right to rescind his admission, because they were gonna find out regardless. There were people who reposted this, people screenshotted it, people shared this all around. So the college was gonna eventually see it anyway.
Also, sorry.
Come on, y'all. I'm just gonna play devil's advocate here, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Is like, come on, you were just a dumb 15, 16-year-old. Should I go back on all your social media pages and start climbing and combing and finding what you posted something about? I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate. What do you guys think about that? Are you responsible for what you wrote 2 years ago?
Yes, because it does not matter how long ago it was. You're racist, period. Like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how long ago you said it. I don't care if you changed, because you're not sorry that you did it. You're sorry you got caught. That's all it is. Okay? He's still
speaking?
Maya. I guarantee you he's still walking around saying the N-word to his friends. He's just not getting caught doing it. Okay? And I'm really mad at interviews on Fox News, because we already know about Fox. They was giving him they was doing him easy, okay? Because he deserved way worse than how they did him.
Great. Okay, Maya. See, Maya, that's an opinion piece. That's beautiful. You know what I mean, to put on here. I thought, but you're right. Fox 100% goes in. He was a very good, balanced news person right there. What used to be back in the day. They don't do that no more, but he was very balanced. But Maya, great comments. Go for it. Who's talking? Yep.
Okay, so Maya. Now, first of all, I want to let y'all know that I totally agree that he is wrong and in the wrongdoing. But kind of like how Professor saying, devil's advocate, you gotta understand that I was like totally racist and all that. But at some point in our lives, we were all immature. Now, whether we got caught for being immature or not, and definitely he should not, because like I know he really did not, that apology was not sincere. He was just trying to put on the show. But we all were immature sometime, and why should we go so hard on him just because he got caught?
Okay, time out, pause. Being immature and being racist are two different things, okay? Immature, maybe he said like a sex joke or something, or maybe he said something like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. But being immature and being racist are two different things, okay? You cannot blame his immaturity on him being racist, okay? I have plenty of little tiny little white little girls that are my friends, you know, who I babysit and stuff, whatever. And they're immature, but they would never say the N-word because they were raised different and they know it's wrong.
I want to make a quick comment here. They said that he made the comments 2 years ago, and I personally think I know that in high school you change a lot between like your sophomore and senior year, but I also know that it is very difficult to change yourself from being like, racist in just 2 years. I think that is a very like difficult change to make. Like you can't, like even in high school, like you don't grow as much as a person, like in terms of like changing your ideas. Like it takes a lot to, and I understand like he went through a very rough time, but he also like if he was truly sorry about it, he would have done something for the friend group that would have been like, hey guys, we need to stop doing this. He should have realized that this is wrong. We shouldn't be saying this stuff. I'm getting caught up in the moment, and I am not realizing that I am making hateful comments, not even just towards like other people. I am literally insulting my dead family members.
Wow.
Like if he was actually sorry about it, he would have done something earlier because it was 2 years ago. He had 2 years to apologize for it, and that's why I don't think his apology is genuine. I think that now that he's obviously more aware because everyone's attacking him for it, he can make that sort of change. But I don't think it's realistic that he changed in those 2 years. I don't think it makes sense.
Also, in my opinion, he had a forced change. He didn't like. It's a lot of people who might have had like racist background and stuff, who over time they've learned their ways and understand they were wrong and have really changed. He only changed so people wouldn't be upset with him. So it wasn't a real change.
Wow.
It was just a change for show. Like he has not internally changed.
Wow. But any other thoughts on? First of all, right now, I don't know where he is. I tried to Google it to find out if he got into college. I don't know if he did, but I bet he'll be fine.
Harvard actually gave him his admissions back.
Oh, they
In
did?
one of the articles, they said that he got his admission back, and he got to go.
That's disgusting.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Thank you for that. See, this is great. This is all the great information you're able to put in your papers and all that other stuff. But,
I would like
go
to
ahead.
comment on something.
Go ahead.
Not knowing that Harvard let him come back, but I do know at the beginning when they did revoke his admissions, I believe it was 100% that was the right choice for them to do. Because personally, I remember senior year, I went on a recruiting trip for some school in North Carolina, and the very first thing I noticed was one thing: there was absolutely no diversity. There was no diversity at all. And the second thing is, there were the people and the teammates who I was having to stay with for the weekend, a lot of them were saying all racist things, and I was just like, there is no part of me that wants to be a part of a team, a community, a school that's like this. And so that's why I was like, there's absolutely no way that I'm joining a school like this. And just because of that, it had no, other than that, the school was beautiful, but that was the one thing that I was like, I will never go to a school like this, ever.
Right. There was a young woman last year or 2 years ago. I don't know her name, but she was on the volleyball team, and she was on IG saying the N-word, and she got not expelled or academic probation, and I think she even decided to just withdraw. But it's just very personally. You guys, I want you guys to know, you guys are at Georgia State. I've been to lots of colleges and universities. This is the most racial, cultural place I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I've been to schools in Boston all over the place. And you guys have a great opportunity here to work with different people. And so, even though your other GSU 1010s aren't like this, mine is more focused on this kind of work about just social justice, sociology, and all these other pieces, just to how we understand ourselves in the world. Maya, Cole, Catherine, Faith, Andrea, everybody, just thank you for your comments on this. We'll see what round 2 for Kyle is, Kashuf, and we'll all watch. But as you guys know, as these universities now are holding people to a higher standard, they're looking at the ways that people text each other as violence. They're also looking at ways of how that is actually being reported. And so these are all new avenues of how people are communicating. And it's very interesting that those students must really hate Kyle to call the university and to just give them the information. So please don't have anybody that don't like you like that. All right, ever in your life, okay?
I
So
also think that to kind of like expand on what Faith said about Harvard's admissions, I think the reason why they first like revoked his admissions decision is because his name had like a lot of heat on it. And Harvard is known to be a very prestigious college, you know, accepting, you know, really nice, well-rounded students. But so when Kyle sent his, they're like, oh no, like if we accept this guy, you know, it's probably going to tarnish our name. Now with Kate saying like now that he has been accepted, I think it's probably because of the so-called apology that he put out. And it's like, oh, well, he put out his apology, so I guess we can accept him. Because I remember reading in one of the articles, I'm not mistaken, it was saying that like Harvard accepted, like they like turned a blind eye, something not similar, but there were some students that either went to Harvard or they applied and they did some like racial slurs or something, but Harvard like turned a blind eye to it.
Yeah, they also, the reason why he got his admissions thing back, and I know because I read the different ones because I couldn't find an article that I really liked to rabbit hole on.
There you go.
But they accepted it because the diversity office at Harvard had accepted his apology, but the actual like dean and the like admissions like crew hadn't. And he was like, well, it doesn't make sense because the diversity office accepted it, but y'all didn't. And he used that to get his admissions back.
So he did a loophole strategy. Plus, I bet there was some Harvard alumni that agree with his philosophy that pushed in all these things around race, class, and gender, and all these other things playing. You know, here he is, a white male with Jewish descent that's able to throw his weight around and do that. So these are all come into play. But I just thank you guys for really, really getting into this. We have one more piece and then our class is over. We're gonna speak about our my good friend who went to college with me, Jody Patterson, and her discussion about being a trans parent. Okay, so that's our last piece and then we'll be out of this class for the day. Go for it.
Drill down as a man, it seemed to me we could do more, achieve more, and receive more. So we birthed beautiful children, we launched companies, and we were able to fill our home with love. It seemed that dividing and conquering was working for us until my third child was born and it all fell apart. Penelope was born, anatomically speaking, perfectly female. Chubby, bouncy, curious, smiley. But within the first year, Penelope became very angry. Excessive nail biting until fingers were bloody, uncontrollable temper, and this reoccurring nightmare that happened every night over and over again. By the second year, my perfect child was more problematic than anything else. I didn't know what to do. So I took a novel approach and sat my baby down, my child down, and asked directly, what's wrong? Why are you so angry? And Penelope said, well, Mama, because everyone thinks I'm a girl, and I'm not. So immediately I wanted to convey unconditional love and support. And so I said, however you feel on the inside is fine. It's what's on the inside that counts. And Penelope, without missing a beat, said, no, Mama, I don't feel like a boy. I am a boy. Those words shook me. I thought maybe I had done something wrong as a parent. Had I forgotten to do something? Had I forgotten to teach self-pride? What about all the women that have done so much for the world? Billie Jean King, Shirley Chisholm, Nina Simone. Had I forgotten to teach feminism? Was my own child rejecting feminism? No. This was about identity. Penelope was conveying knowledge of self. This was not about sexual orientation or preference. It wasn't even about the body. This was being, not feeling. Full stop. And in that moment when I was sitting with my kid on the floor, I realized I knew nothing of Penelope's world, right? Up until that point, I hadn't thought about gender. I didn't really have a position on gender. right? It was simply the pervasive lens from which I thought, spoke, and saw the entire world. But going forward, I was on a gender tirade. I could only think about gender, like, what is a man and what is a woman? These big questions circling in my head. Now, of course, my marriage suffered, as you can imagine, with these questions. And all my other children no longer had my undivided attention. I was forced to tear apart the world piece by piece, trying to make sense of it all. I'd like us to put a pause on gender. What does it tell us anyway about a person? How does a man really think? Right? I ask myself this question when I look at my husband. What is he thinking, right? Many of us, I'm sure in the room, we ask this of the male spouse. How does a man, what is he thinking about? But you can also ask, how does a woman really behave? What I find to be more telling about a person are the particulars. So, for example, I like salami after my meals instead of dessert. I'm more savory than sweet. I make my bed 5 minutes after I wake up in the morning. I love for a man to open the door for me, but I insist on carrying my own luggage. What does this tell you? Am I gay or straight, single or married, femme or masculine, a stay-at-home mom or a CFO? Unclear. What's most likely to pop into your mind is, I kind of like her. Yeah, I vibe with her. Or I really don't like her. The particulars, more so than race and gender, help us to understand each other. They tell us if we can interbe, if we can get along, right? They're kind of like the how and the why we tick. Another one of my little particulars, hair is love. So years ago, my grandmother taught me to brush my hair actually 100 times each night before going to bed. And my mama taught me to cornrow it in the morning. So in my family, hair is love. It's, about family and connectedness and history. Years later, my determined toddler in the pink dress that I had chosen in this gorgeous blonde afro marches up to me and says, "Mama, I want you to cut it all off into a mohawk, like Papa's." I froze, right, thinking hair is love. But then we decided to cut Penelope's hair. Why not? Into a tiny afro. And in that moment, I realized it is my job as a parent to create the exact environment where happiness can grow. It's also my job to clear any obstacle out of the way that stands between my kid and happiness. So that's what I was trying to do. And really, it transformed the whole family because we saw Penelope standing up taller and smiling, right?
Okay, we're about to close this class down. What did you guys think about transparent? Jody Patterson has wrote a book about this, and it has been displayed on Good Morning America and everything. Just tell me what you guys think about her whole process and thinking about this as a parent.
I think Jody's really inspiring because especially in the Black community, like the LGBT community isn't really accepted. So for her to be a Black parent and accepting her son at the young age he was, because I know plenty of Black parents myself who would have been like, "No, you're a girl," and wouldn't have accepted it and would have forced the gender stereotype on the child. So for her to actually just accept it and do whatever she can to create a happy home for her child was just really inspiring.
I think it was really good too, and it was honestly super heartwarming for me because I have a couple of friends who are trans, and their parents, seeing how they reacted to it and how much they tried to shut it down, honestly, like I think she had the most perfect approach to it because she was willing to admit that she didn't know as much as she thought she did, and she was willing to educate herself and grow and change so that her son could live in a better world and like grow into a good person regardless of what he identifies as.
Let's keep on going.
I like how she did little things like she cut his hair, she changes toothbrushes out with princesses on them to superheroes like Spider-Man. I actually like how she didn't bring her own thoughts into her son's appearance.
Hair is love. Hair is love. Remember that piece? She said hair is love.
She didn't bring any of her any of her religion or anything and impose it onto her son. She just wanted to make him feel comfortable. And I honestly think that every child in the LGBT community, or even every trans child, just deserves a parent like her.
But listen, this part's the best part for me.
I realize it is my job as a parent to create the exact environment where happiness can grow. It's also my job to clear any obstacle out of the way that stands between my kid and happiness. So that's what I was trying to do. And really, it transformed the whole family because we saw Penelope standing up taller.
Amazing, huh? That whole piece right there was the part that got me in my heart about just crying and so forth. Any other thoughts about just, think about it, the bravery of a 4-year-old to tell their mother what is actually wrong. I know kids that are 18, 19, and 20 and still can't have that conversation with their parents.
I think a big part of it is how she would regularly talk to her kids. She didn't like use baby speak as much. She admitted like she talks to them like they're adults. And I know there have been studies about how you talk to their kids while they're young and developing that changes like how they grow as a person. And I think that's part of why her kid was so able to just be like, Mom, I'm a boy, like that's just who I am. I think that's a big part of it. I think the way she has her household, how she described it as like open and a safe space for all discussions, like I think that's just amazing in general. I think her parenting style is definitely like one to like model after.
Jody was one of the most amazing people at Spelman College. She was just she used to do all the artsy stuff, so I used to watch her and be amazed by her. And it's funny, she was an acrobat in the circus. I couldn't believe that, but that's even great as well. So today, as we close out the last 4 minutes, I just want you guys to know that these articles are really the cornerstone of what human life and existence is about. It's about us as we live in this world to understand that there are people that are different than you, from different races, classes, and ethnic backgrounds, and gender identities that face many different things, and for us to be sensitive about that. I know we just had 4 years of something that really didn't understand that about disabilities and really making fun of different people because of their differences and so forth. But as we, as the next generation, as you guys, as the super next generation, is that all these discussions, like in my generation, we didn't talk about them. You know what I mean? Gender identity, all these other things. But you guys are the bravery. You guys are the ones that are pushing Black Lives Matter. You guys are the ones that are doing this to make this society change and also make this country change. So we need your leadership. We need your voice. And this is what I hope with this GSU 1010 class and this piece of sociology is about, for you guys to be able to know what your voice is, to stand up to discrimination, big D discrimination and small d discrimination in everything that you do while you're in school, while you're at work, while you're in house, when you're talking to your friends and family. And I hope that this is one of the gifts that I give you as your teacher this semester, as you go out there in the GSU community and become great community scholars as well. Okay. For next week, we're not going to have class next week. However, there is a super duper extra credit at 6 o'clock on 6 to 7:30. If anyone wants to go to that, it's with the talking about Black students and their role on campus. It's open to the public. I'm gonna send that to everybody. You can come to that as well. But also the next week, what you guys are gonna do is make sure you work on your resumes and do a 15-minute appointment with the career services so you can get some of that stuff done. So I won't see you guys next week, but you guys did a great job. And then if everyone can just go back to one of those articles, the 5 articles, and just comment on one other person's article that wasn't yours, that'll be really fun, and I can just close that whole piece out. So pretty much it is, you're gonna go back to one of the articles that you didn't read, just write a comment on the board, and then also just do a 15-minute appointment on there. There are, I've read a lot of stuff on everything. There are like 18 of you that have done pretty much everything, and there's like 4 of y'all that are super behind. So the 4 of y'all that are super behind, you better get in touch with me ASAP, because you're gonna have to get all that stuff in. But you know, there's 17 of y'all that have passed everything in, and there's 4 of y'all that haven't. So when it's time for me to do the end point, you know what I mean, folks are gonna get mad, but you just gotta do the work. Like I have a professor, I had to sit up there all night, and thing was due at 11:59. I started at 6:58. I had to sit there for 4.5 hours to get that thing by 11:59. And you're just gonna have to do it. Okay, I know it sucks, but you're just gonna have to do it. Yes.
When are we going, like, are we ever going to see our grades in the grade book on iCollege?
Yeah, yeah, why don't I make sure I talk to you after class so I can just go over your stuff. But anyone wants to go over it, you can just email me and we can go over it. And then I'm also going to have 15-minute meetings with your group over in the next 2 weeks. So, I'll do the group that you were with your articles. So I'll schedule that with you guys, not for this week, but next week. We can go 15 minutes and we can go over everyone else's work and all that. So you guys are all up to date as well. Okay, today was fantastic. Great job, everybody. Please email me. You guys did fantastic today. Keep the work up, all right? And then who got to see me? I think Cole, you got to call me, Cole. Let me see who else. Sung, Maya. Where's Maya? Aya, where's Aya? Some of y'all gotta come. Cole, you gotta call me. You know that, right? Look at me. Look at me. That's like Uncle Face. All right. There's 3 of y'all on here that gotta call me.
I'm going to email you after this.
Okay, Burke, you're doing good. Let me see. Nina's fine. Joey's all right. Joey, you're fine as well. Faith, everybody else. I'm just saying, if I gave you that face, you know what that means. Joey, look at me. Joey, no, look at me. All right, get it done. Bye.